Okay. All right. Can everybody hear me okay? Let's start there. Yes, I see a thumbs up. All right, cool. Well, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, happy Monday to all of you. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Shane Devine. I'm the VP of Sales for Dash Carolina. We have an office in Raleigh and we have an office in Charlotte, two of the best real estate markets in the country. I think we'd all agree that we're pretty fortunate to do what we do and where we're doing it from. Today, we've assembled a panel of some of the finest agents in both of those markets, two in Raleigh, two in Charlotte, who've had successful years, right? In a year that was filled with, if you think back on it, all kinds of uncertainty with the NAR settlement. It was just kind of this dark cloud, I think, that was hanging over our industry for most of the year. And yet these four individuals who make up our panel today really hunkered down, got down to business, and did real estate at a high level. So the cool thing about these four agents, and you'll meet them here in a second, and really why they were selected is because they all have kind of varying degrees of real estate experience, and they all kind of came at it from a different angle or a different path to find success. So they have a ton to offer, and I think we'll all learn something from them today as we all get ready for 2025. So let's jump in and meet the panel. And let's start with Sharon Evans in Raleigh. Sharon, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us today. Looks like you're muted.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah. So Sharon, welcome.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell everybody just a quick introduction about who you are and how you got here?
Oh gosh, that's a long
That's
story.
a loaded question, right?
Well, I'm kind of long in the tooth on this, as they say. I've done this probably 26 years now. I just got call it an addiction. It's a bad word, but I got addicted to looking at real estate, shopping for real estate, buying a house for myself, buying a rental property. Had an engineering degree, but decided I was going to go to school and get a real estate license on the side. And it started part-time, and then everybody at my office happened to be either getting married or retiring or something, and they liked me and trusted me. And before I knew it, it all took off. So that's kind of how I got started. And then over time, way too late in the game, realized that you gotta leverage some of your time with some help, or you can only put one person in your car or one meeting at a time. And before you know it, you're burning all ends, which I still do, honestly. So
Yeah, it's real easy to run yourself into the ground if you're not careful. So, well, thanks for joining us, Sharon. So let's kick it over to Charlotte and Ryan Massey.
Hey everybody. Like Shane said, my name is Ryan. I've been in the industry since 2020. I was a COVID baby when it comes to real estate. So I've been in the industry almost 5 years now. And I've been on the same team. I'm with the Redbug Group with Keller Williams down in Charlotte. And it's been awesome. I've done roughly 150 deals, about 70 million in volume since joining real estate. And this has been my best year yet. I closed on number 39 and number 40 this week.
Wow.
So
good
it's
job.
been a great career. Yeah, and I come from the corporate sales world prior to that, so it's been a nice transition.
Yeah. Right on, dude. Yeah, you definitely are a stud over there in Charlotte, and we're super grateful that you're with us today. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule. Sherry Richter, what you got?
Hello, everybody. I'm Sherry, and like Sharon, my past is a little bit like hers. I've been, I started out in real estate probably back in like the early 2000s, where, I would buy my own home and I would live in it and flip it myself. Meanwhile, I was a full-time practicing physical therapist. And so I always had a love of working with my hands, of, helping people. And then as I started learning more about homes. I've always had a passion for real estate. I ended up leaving my therapy world and doing flipping full time. And then from flipping full time, I ended up moving. That was when I was in the Midwest. I moved to California and realized I didn't have money really to flip in California. So I decided let's go ahead and um, do the other half of the puzzle and and become a licensed real estate agent.
Mhm.
So I started actually selling real estate actually in itself. This I'm going into technically like my third between year 3 and 4, but I've moved twice. And so I was in Northern California in a team there, and I've just been in North Carolina now. I guess I've been here about a year, and I had to go through all that process of relicensing and stuff. But it took me a while to find Dash, but I'm actually, with Dash Carolina in the Raleigh area. And didn't find them. I didn't actually join them until May. And I actually will be closing on my 10th contract, within 6 months. So, I really took a while to find that right home, but Dash Carolina has been that home for me.
Awesome. We're glad that you found us. Welcome. And last but not least, another Dash agent, this one in Charlotte, Connor Wick. Connor, good to see you.
Hey, I appreciate it, Shane. Hello, everybody. My name's Connor Wick. So I'm from Asheville, North Carolina. I've been in real estate less than a year. I joined Dash in the beginning of May. So I've been with them for not too long at this point, but been able to hit the ground running due to the tools that they've been able to provide me as a new agent. That's helped me succeed in a big way. Uh, s- Before the real estate, I spent 8 years in the United States Marine Corps. Kind of why I wanted to transition into real estate was because I dive deep into the work that I'm doing. I'm a very passionate, intense, ambitious person. And through the Marine Corps, I did a lot of moving around. So I know how stressful that can be at times, depending on what kind of situation you're in. So I really found a passion for helping people, and I wanted to transition into that. And real estate was like the perfect segue for me.
Yeah.
So I found Dash, and they've been helping me ever since, and they've been giving me the tools I need to succeed, and it's been fantastic.
Well, that's great. I mean, I think that just demonstrates like the variety of backgrounds that we have today on this panel and while we're all here. So again, thank you to each of you for being here. So today's topic is strategies to maximize your business in 2025. Honestly, we could talk for days, right? About how to go about doing that. And we've got probably about 40 minutes left or so to really dive as deep as we possibly can to cover as much ground as we possibly can. With the idea, hopefully, when this is all said and done, everybody leaves here motivated and ready to rock in 2025. So I've got some questions all teed up for you guys. And then, of course, anybody that's tuning in, drop your questions in the chat. Maddie's going to keep an eye on those. And we'll get to as many of those as we possibly can at the end of this discussion. So I'd like to kick things off with lead generation. Lead generation really is the name of the game. It's the key to survival, right? You've got to have clients. But keeping that funnel full is a bit of a balancing act, right? Between serving your current clients, the ones that you already have, making sure that you're taking good care of them and getting them to the finish line, right? Along with finding time to prospect for new leads, right? New business. So you really can't afford to take your eye off of either one of those things for too long, or just honestly may end up out of business. So Sharon, this one's for you as a team lead. With 26 years of experience in counting, how do you help your agents stay off that roller coaster, right? Like we've all been on it and it's not much fun. So how do you go about that balancing act with your team?
How do I help them? Well, there's, multiple angles, I think, when you talk about lead gen. We can all see those lists, 100 ways to lead gen or 1,000 ways. But I think because we're maybe a little bit more boutique size, that we have about 15, 16 agents, we do a lot of weekly meetings with them, trying to see, what they are willing to do to continue on the path versus where they may be missing the mark, because I think you've always got to coach people who aren't 100% just driven on everything they're going to do. And I think you realize over time that I'm in a position now that I've earned so many people's trust in business that I don't have to do as much for business to just knock on my door, but trying to get them coached up that they're going to have to spend their few years chasing everything, but be as efficient as possible, without getting discouraged, because we got to get through a lot of no's to get to a yes, and making them confident that that is the metrics. It's not just, oh, well, they said no, I'm going home for the day, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's really some mindset. It's some showing them how the data of it works, showing them that we can't coach them if they're not willing to put in the data. And otherwise, if you're just a real people person, I guess the disc, if you're the eye, the mayor who's going to, you know, shake hands and rub babies all the time, then, you know, you might just be the person. I have a great friend in this business that she always just picked up business going to a dinner party or a baby shower. And that was her method. So I'm not saying anybody has to have the same method, but if you've got no business, we've got some methods that you can follow, or you're going to tell me how you're going to double down on things that you know bring you business. That is what your passion is. So I guess we stay pretty diversified that way.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's a great idea. Connor, so being new to real estate, this is your first year, you mentioned that. How have you specifically, being new at this, how have you gone about, Connor, getting your clients?
So that's a great question. I've tried out a lot of ways, especially being a new agent entering the industry. I wanted to try out everything that I possibly could. You know, I mean, I took on the mindset of I happen to be a real estate agent, but I'm in the lead generation business because that's where it all starts, in my opinion. So I've tried paying for leads through Zillow. What I do is I do a lot of door knocking. Obviously, Dash has a fantastic system set up with Zillow and the Flex partnership. But I do a lot of like door knocking. I do a lot of prospecting on my own for getting in contact with people, mailing out cards, just anything I can try to get that door open for me, to get in front of people, to talk to people, to let them know I'm a real estate agent. I'm here to help them out.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, also in Charlotte, I know with your experience starting in 2020, the stats that you gave us about the year that you're having. I know Zillow's played a big part of your success. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the Flex program since I started in 2020 with our team, and it's really been the catalyst to my career. I'm starting to see now a lot of people that I sold or helped buy houses in 20 and 21, they're starting to sell houses. So it's really just been um, the whole Zillow platform has been what's made me successful. But I really try not to limit myself to like certain areas or certain price points. I just take as many leads as I possibly can, and that's worked for me. And it's from the day-to-day standpoint, now I've figured out kind of a balance of how many people I can be showing houses to and have under contract at the same time. And it's all about pipeline management, and Zillow pretty much does that for you with all of their programs. So just knowing like, hey, I've got these three people that are going to buy in Q4. I need to add one more person for that quarter. And just figuring out the metrics and the analytics of how I can make Zillow work for me. But it's all a numbers game. I mean, if you're taking as many leads as possible, as many at bats as you can, I think it's hard not to be successful with Zillow. You just have to find how to manage your pipeline and your time. That's the big thing with taking the Zillow leads and making sure that you're working efficiently.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Love that answer. Sherry, so you're new to Raleigh. I think this job is hard enough. I can't imagine what it must be like trying to do this job in a place that you've never lived before. So I think joining Dash was a smart move because we've given you literally a zillion leads. But how have you become, or how have you gone about becoming that local expert? Because that's really what people expect, right? They want that local expert that knows the area when you're brand new yourself. So how have you been able to do that?
It's tough. I mean, it's a lot of homework. The thing about, I take every possible lead I can. And when I take my leads, you know, I do my homework. I dive into that property before I go there. I do a lot more homework, I think, not knowing the area than other agents who may know it because I have to dive a little bit deeper so I can make sure I can, be that person that can answer these questions to them. But I've also had, had that point where I've actually had quite a few clients that are also moving to this area. And so having someone that understands that, um, and being able to help them, with the idiosyncrasies with that. But the big thing, honestly, um, it just, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Um, is understanding what they need and being able to answer and get it. But I've usually a big thing for me as well with Dash is being able to leverage my team, the culture of Dash. I mean, they really help me understand like the processes and the oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm chasing myself a little bit right now because I love um
Well, I think sometimes, the best way to learn an area is just to get out there and drive it. And what better way to do that than just show a bunch of houses, right? So that's probably been a part of,
yeah. I've
yeah.
tried, I've taken over close to 80 leads since I had my leads turned on, and I've taken them everywhere. I mean, I answer my phone, and wherever it takes me, it takes me. It's great now that I've actually had people when they're talking about areas like I know that area now, I know about that, but I'm doing a lot of self research, just trying to prepare myself for every time I meet with a client, so therefore they feel like they are talking to someone who knows the area.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's definitely a degree of fake it till you make it, right? So everybody on this panel um, is in the Flex program to some degree, right? But looking ahead to 2025, and this is for anybody here, um, who doesn't want to do more self or SOI business, right? So specifically, strategies, thoughts, ideas, whether someone's brand new to this business or they've done it 10 years and they're looking for something different to try. Any ideas that you guys have when it comes specifically to that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So as I was saying in the last question, I think something that's helped me out a lot for SOI when it comes to the listing side of the business, which is also a great way to prospect in general because you're going to be marketing a home, you're going to be attached to that home, you're essentially marketing yourself with that home, you know. So one of the things that I do that's helped me out a lot and I've been successful in is door knocking. So I'll prospect neighborhoods, I'll go introduce myself. It's not like you're sitting there trying to sell anything. You introduce yourself, you let them know that you're here to help. You can do a little promotional thing if you want, for example, like I'm taking, 2% commissions or whatnot, whatever works for you, but just, something to separate yourself while you're out there meeting with people of saying like, oh, okay, like this is why we're going to use him, get in front of people. Essentially door knocking is what I've been doing a lot of to prospect, for lead generation.
Okay, that's good. Anybody else?
I like to do something for myself that's new. As I always say, do things that you love, because I'm trying to meet people as well. So, I joined a gym. I like golf, so I joined a women's golf league. Try to find things that you connect with. If you do things you enjoy, and I talk to everybody, and I'm not, that's another thing. You have to be able to put it out there of letting people know that you're in the business and you're a real estate agent and asking, do you know of anyone looking to buy or sell? But if you do things that you love and you meet people that way, it can be a little more organic and and it's been very successful for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also got one more thing too. So everyone should be taking advantage of social media. 100%. Social media is a fantastic tool to get yourself out there. And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, well, I agree. Social media is great. I wish I was better at it. But one of the ways I get a lot of my self-generated stuff is just from past clients. I would say almost probably over half of the self-generated stuff has all come from previous Zillow leads. But I like to post stuff on social media too. But the way that I've gotten the most people is just by keeping in touch with my old clients. You can send that automated Happy Thanksgiving email to everybody and stuff like that, but I like to pick up I'm in the car all the time. So I try to talk to at least two of my former clients on the phone every week. If I'm just driving to another house, especially like if it's their house anniversary, I'll give them a call, see how things are going. I mean, you're invested in those people too. You get to know them, so it's fun to just catch up on things they've been up to and see how the house is. And I don't even have to mention that, hey, if you have any friends or family looking to buy or sell, let me know. It's usually just I'm top of mind. I like to think so. Whenever they think or somebody says, "Hey, I'm looking to buy a house," they say, "Oh, I've got a guy. He's great." At least I hope they say that. Um, but
I'm
that's
sure they
how I've
will.
generated a lot of my business.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Yeah, you've got to stay in touch. You work so hard to get these clients to convert them. You're just really doing yourself a disservice if you're not trying to maintain that relationship. Sharon, I would imagine you're really, really good at that.
I would say, which is it blows people's minds. I'm not that great at that. What I am great at is making such an impression
Yeah,
when we are doing the deal,
sure.
right?
Yep.
Because no matter what, I think my clientele tends to be a lot of the fraidy cats in the world. I'm engineer by background, so I get a lot of those people who need a lot of detail, need a lot of numbers, need to build trust. And you just know with them, once you've built their trust, they're never calling anybody else unless you're dead, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
because they're scared enough to build trust with someone. But once they have that trust, so I've always told people my secret sauce has been ridiculously answering my phone, right? Or messages or emails. Like it's probably rough because I don't give myself a lot of personal time. Like I said, it's kind of an addiction. I love what I do. And if it hits some, as they've seen some presentations, little dopamine hits of someone calling you or asking you or messaging you, to do some business, you get excited about it. And I think they feel that energy. They always say, we always sensed you were on our side. We knew you were there for us. So I think there's a lot in that people miss. I think they make it much more transactional. Like, here's your step, here's the appraisal, here's the this. And I think having conversations with them and giving them the room to have concerns and for you to help talk them through and talk them off the ledge, that builds a lot. Now, in my latter years here, because I never had time to do a lot of follow up or specifically sit still and talk to people, I'm just always working. But I think as I've built a team and built in people in place, yes, like sending out a nice newsletter that's informational
yeah,
or dropping pop buys by, which we've done the old Buffini thing for those top 100 clients that tend to come back and send more, and just looking for ways to touch them more. But I also am very confident within myself that most of them I don't have to touch that much. They just call me. I did a deal with you 8 years ago. I did a deal with 14 years ago. My sister did a deal with you. My neighbor told me to call you. And I've been lucky that I've built that type of business.
yeah.
So,
Well said. Could not agree more. So having leads is one thing. If we can't convert them, what good is it, right? So Ryan, this question's for you, because I want to talk about conversion next. Um, you have proven yourself to be able to take a Zillow lead, which is a cold internet lead, right? It just happens to be the best cold internet lead out there.
Yeah.
And you've been able to convert that. And these are folks that have never met you. They probably you probably know very little about them. So how do you get these folks to warm up to you and let their guard down? Because I think it's really important, particularly with that lead source, to be able to do that. So what are some of your tips and tricks that you can share?
I mean, I would say number one, just be genuine. I mean, I try to go into a house as if I were buying the house and what I would point out and say and do. I mean, that helps to build trust. The other thing, I mean, do what you say you're going to do. I talk to a lot of people. I mean, it feels like a lot of times you meet a Zillow lead and they've already met an agent somewhere. They've seen a house, maybe a little bit less now with the new rules, but they've already talked to somebody. So how can I stand out and be different than that person? Well, the one thing I can do is if I tell them I'm going to send them a follow-up email, I'll do it. Because I hear so many times where they're like, I can't get in touch with this person. Can you help me out? And I'm willing to take the chance because I know that I'll be consistent and be there for them. And I think it's education too. So a lot of people, they have no idea about the process. And I know a lot of agents, they go into the house and they try to sell that first house they're in when the likelihood is 99% of the time they're not going to buy that house. So I think it's just telling them about the process. I mean, it baffles me when I ask somebody like, has anybody walked you through, if you like this house, what would we do next? And they're like, no, I have no idea. What is due diligence? So I think it's just taking the time to explain the process, go over what it looks like. I always send everybody a follow-up email too. And I'm like, even if you're not going to buy this house, I want you to see kind of how I work and how my brain works. So I'm going to send you an email. If you were to offer on this house, what it would look like and what the next steps would be. And I think that just builds trust. It helps them to understand that I know what I'm doing, and that they can feel comfortable, working with me.
For sure. For our Dash agents, we always like to say we try to talk people out of houses. We point out all the things that are wrong with the home. Brian, sounds like you do something very similar to that. Sharon, I'm sure you do too.
Mhm.
But yeah, honestly, Connor and Sherry, you guys have failed miserably at talking people out of houses this year because you've sold a lot of real estate. So if you had to point to one or two things in terms of what your secret sauce is, right? We just heard what Sharon says. I would love to hear from the two of you. How have you done it?
For myself, honestly, is I get them to buy me first. I mean, if they don't buy me first, they're not going to even listen to anything that I say. But I think, me actually explaining why I'm going to talk them out of the house and explaining, because I deal with a lot, I'd say probably 80% of my clients have been first-time homeowners, and they need that extra holding. My background as a physical therapist, I'm very nurturing, and I'm very approachable. I'm also my authentic self. And talking them out of the house and explaining them why, before I even walk into the house with them, I think I've already gained a level of respect from them because I'm trying to protect their money, explaining the due diligence and I'm not being refundable. And a lot of first-time home buyers don't have that money to just throw around. So I think gaining their trust by them buying me and explaining I'm here to watch out for you, I'm here on your behalf is what's really been my success.
Great. And I mean, for me, I think a lot of it is just creating a good experience for them. A part of that is being genuine. And then a part of it is just letting them know that you're there to provide world-class service for them and their family on all the important levels for them, and that boils down to just, people are going to forget what you do, they're going to forget what you say, but they're not going to forget how you made them feel, so creating that good experience for them, being genuine within the process, and just like Sherry just said too, you're not there to sell them on their home. No one wants to be sold on anything, and as soon as someone picks up on that, they're going to run for the hills, so you want to provide value on yourself. You want to be top of mind, so you want to create a good experience for them. You want to provide value. You want to let them know that you're on top of it, that you're going to do what Ryan said, what you're going to say. You're going to do what you're going to say you're going to do. You're going to continue to follow up. You're going to be consistent. You're sharp. You're on top of it. That's the experience and perspective that you want to create with them for them to continue to work with you.
Yeah, and I think if there's a common thread in terms of where I'm sitting right now, like one thing that all of you guys have in common is definitely your work ethic, right? You're not going to let someone outwork you. You're responsive, you respond with urgency, all the things that I think really matter today now more than ever in the world that we live in. Sharon, this question's for you. We've done some deals together over the years, and you really are a master at navigating due diligence. Just the word due diligence makes a lot of agents want to throw up and run the other way, right?
Yeah.
Getting through that whole process is probably the hardest part, right? Not necessarily even
Yes.
getting under contract, but it's like, how do we get through this weird, non-refundable due diligence period where North Carolina is a caveat emptor state, right? Like buyer beware. We've got people moving in from all over the country. They don't understand it. And yet, I think one of the feathers in your cap would be is you could teach a master class on it in terms of how to navigate those kind of that uncertainty and getting both parties to the finish line and everybody feel good about it. So how do you do it?
I think especially the last few years and having a lot of newer agents and things of that nature, trying to get them through it has been challenging for sure because they don't have the length of experience on understanding repair costs or what things are an issue versus not an issue and trying to manage the home inspection, not lighting them on fire and all that. But I told people many, I guess stories sell, right? So you use your stories. And a story that I can easily tell someone is I had a past client, they've moved a couple times, but then moved away. Call out of the blue, we're moving back, Sharon, and I'm bringing my fiance in tow and we're buying X, Y, and Z. And I explained to him at the time, like, I'm going to expect you to need to expect 20, 30, 50,000 as non-refundable. And, it was kind of like a hands-on hit moment. I ain't doing that,
Mhm.
and I'm sure we hear that from, I want to say, the New Yorkers and some, other folks that come down that just like, y'all can stick it. We're not doing that, and then I have to kind of go through my experience because fortunately I already had his trust. But I just need to remind you that I've done over 5,000 inspections on buyers and sell sides that I've seen and been some kind of, oversight on. And over and over again, most things are 5,000 or less. And I'd say 80% of them are 2 or 3,000 or less. And that in today's type of market is not worth missing a house over. Can you agree? And you get their buy-in to that. And then when you explain to them that most people are going to do, even in a softer market, 5 to 10 grand in a lot of places, given that most things are going to be at or under that, and we're going to put our eyes on it. We're going to know the age of it. We're going to know when's the last time it transacted that things were found and not found to decide what our risks are. And then I'll build your confidence that you can do it. Because once you've put 10 grand down, you can put 100 grand down.
Right.
And I get people bought into that pretty quickly by going through that process with them.
How do you explain the difference between a repair and an improvement or an upgrade? Because there's a big difference, right? People
Yeah.
start to get in that weird zone.
I think that's something that it's interesting. About a week ago, maybe even two, but somewhere in that zone, I noticed the market shifting quite a bit. And I noticed we're getting full home inspections, do it all, right after negotiating a chunk off. That we're like, no, this is not the, again, it's kind of an as is. But I do, and I start kind of with an introductory statement. I do a lot of listings. So the introductory statement, and you can kind of reverse it for buyers, that we will probably do any major mechanical or structural failure. You tell me the heat is not working and we didn't do some foreclosure as is crazy discussion, then my people are goodwill people. They'll make sure the heat's working. Or if there's some major leak cropping up, we've got to give it to you in the same or better condition. So we're not going to let the leak go on, or a gas leak blow up the house, or, something that really needs to be addressed to live in the house. But I also set the expectation on that end and on the buy end that 80 to 90% of everything you see in a home inspection, because we have the most picky home inspectors according to all these other states that move here, and they're showing you stuff that they didn't miss it, but they're giving you things that are new code. Nobody's updating to code. They're giving you things that are just a door rubbed or scrubbed and doesn't matter. They're giving you things like a window is sticking, which some paint got tacky or whatever. So 90%, 80%, even maybe up to 100% of it is cosmetic, new code, things to just not be worried about that an average homeowner living in a house won't worry about. So let's just keep focused on those few things. And if I'm on the buy side, I also coach them. If I can whittle it down to a very few things and a decent repair credit or them doing them, I'm much more likely to get acceptance because they feel it's reasonable than to ask for unreasonable, crazy amount or an unreasonable, inspection list, and that I'm not filtering out the little stuff. So I kind of do it both ways. I do a big introductory clause about we're not going to address things of this nature and literally categorize each item on some good notes with my little pen. This is new code. This is it. And I do it for buyers and sellers. I just show them how I would categorize that item. And hey, it's a $10 cover plate on a light switch. Let's not ask for that. Right.
Yeah, for sure. I think we could do a whole nother seminar just
I did a whole seminar on it recently.
There's a lot to unpack there, but it's super important. Might be an idea for another day. Next question is for Ryan and Connor. So seasonality is a real thing, right? The holidays are here. You've got a lot of folks that I think naturally, because of the busyness of the season, guys, are like, you know what? I'm going to just put my search on hold. I'm going to fire it back up in the spring. How do you two guys approach trying to stay sticky, trying to stay top of mind with someone, so when they do want to get back out there, they're calling you and not someone else?
Well, I mean, one of the things that I do is I continue to stay in touch with them. I mean, it's funny that Ryan mentioned about being in the car and like reaching out to past clients. That's one of the things that I also do. Like if like someone's like that I know I need a contact, obviously as real estate agents, we drive around a lot. I'll go ahead and give them a call so I'm staying top of mind, or I'll send out emails that are not just the normal like, copy and paste holiday or past client invitations, like genuinely stay in touch with these people. And I think a big part of that too is like we don't want no like I said earlier, no one wants to be sold. So I'm not too pushy either. If someone's undecisive and I can tell they're being undecisive and they need to be pushed in a direction, then like, absolutely we could have a conversation about why you're not buying, why you want to hold off, why that might be a good idea, why it might be a bad idea. But at the end of the day, it's like what they want to do. It's like, hey, I'm here to help you. If you want to wait till spring, you have some legitimate reasons of why that might be a good idea for you, then fantastic. And I'm going to stay in touch from now to then to make sure that I'm top of mind and that I'm here to help you out. One of the things that I like to do is when I'm on the phone with them, I like to tell them, hey, I'm not here to rush you. I'm not here to push you unnecessarily. I just want to make sure that I'm staying on top of it and you're getting the help that you need and the help that you deserve, and then just have a conversation with them.
Yeah, perfect. Ryan, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to pipeline management. I mean, with Zillow, especially a lot of people that you get are first-time home buyers. They're all renting right now. So, I mean, I have a spreadsheet that has when everybody's lease is in. So I always know, I've got X amount of people that are going to buy towards the holidays. And I try to keep that going I mean, I have people that are looking in 2026 that I've put into my pipeline. So I know for the holidays, I know I'm not going to be slow. And if I can afford to take on a new client, then I'll turn my leads back on and hope that somebody's looking to buy in this during the holidays. My first year, I took basically the entire month of December off, which was a terrible idea, and I didn't close anything. And I think my first closing was like February 27th.
Yeah, it takes so long to get it back and going, right?
It
Yeah.
does, yeah. So I mean, if you feel like you don't have enough clients, I mean, you have to try to start filling the pipeline for the coming months. But I
Mhm.
also think it's education too. So I mean, I have people that I try to tell them like, here's what it's going to look like if you buy in December. There's probably going to be less inventory, but we might be able to get, a better deal than if you wait until the spring, which is totally fine with me. But here, I just want you to know. So I'm giving them the facts so they can make an educated decision for themselves. But I haven't been slow at all during the holidays, but it's just because I keep my lead flow going. So that way I don't ever have a slow period per se.
Yeah. So I think education is huge, right? Like we've actually studied it, and the two best months out of the entire year to buy a house are actually like right now because
Yeah.
your competition is at its lowest. So if you're actually there was ever a time to like get a deal, this would be it. So educating clients on that I think is big, Ryan. And then also I love that spreadsheet idea about when leases are going to end. I love that idea. Sherry, for you, you constantly have a bunch of clients that are under contract, they're pending. Um, how have you, being new to the area, with the new systems in place that we have, like how has that all come together to you where you can kind of do both?
Honestly, I work my ass off.
Yeah.
Just to be frank, I mean, and Sharon talked about this sometimes, not being very good at taking some of that time for myself, but with me being new and trying to, get my foot in the door and start to be new or relevant, people, seeing me, I have to answer my phone. And so Zillow, has been huge for me. It's probably one of the biggest thing that I can contribute is answering my phone because no one knows me, and everyone knows agents. Everyone has two or three. But when Zillow calls and I answer, I'm there for them. And with that is also knowing to manage. Now that with Zillow, we can do self-pause. That's been really big for me because when I'm with a client, I pause my leads. That way I don't get distracted. Because when my phone rings, I want to be able to, that client to feel like I'm only taking care of them. They're on my mind. And even though I know I have two other clients waiting to see a home, it's just schedule. And honestly, it's having a system like what they have at Dash. We have systems in place that help us not let anything fall off the track. Like I had three contracts running. I went into a contract on three homes in 1 week. and trying to manage all of that within a couple of days and you have to have a system in place. You have to manage your pipeline, like Ryan was saying, having a good CRM helps, having a team that you can rely on, because that's also really big. Because I had sometimes where I'm showing homes, but I don't want my other clients to miss this opportunity. And having someone on my team that I can call that could open the door for me and having that as leverage. And that's a whole part about being a team, is being able to have that and have that culture that can help. But a lot of it is a lot of miles, a lot of time, and then being able to stay organized and focused on what needs to have done so you don't lose track of it.
Yeah, yeah, love that answer. Sharon, you mentioned you do a lot of listings. You do a ton of them. I don't know if you can go more than 2 blocks in Raleigh and not see one of your signs. What is this whole NAR settlement? How has it impacted your business, right? There was all this buildup and hype, and it was kind of a lot to do about nothing, honestly, at the end of the day. But how are you coaching your sellers with these changes when it comes to, buyer agent compensation, like some of the things that we're all like so like nervous about? You do a lot of listings, you do a lot of listing appointments. How's the NAR thing shaked out for you?
I would say the majority of people, because I have a lot of past client business and such, or maybe some agent went out on a Zillow and then they turn into a listing. I don't think there many of them are very even clued in or kind of remember hearing about it, but doesn't know like what that means. So I just try to simplify it and say where we used to sign an agreement that put it all in one, and we broke out, and North Carolina was ahead of the game by breaking out what was going to the other agent. Now we do it on two forms. Because I'm EXP, so we are not allowed to pay through the company. So now we'll do it on two forms. I'll have a form that says the listing agent and a form that says the buying agent, and both you're just on paper paying us directly versus sieving it through. And then I had a really cute client of mine I've worked with several times. She goes, "Does this mean like anything to me? Should I worry about it? And how's it like?" That's all they want to know is, how does this affect me? I said, it really doesn't affect you at all. And then when I've had a couple people, I just had an engineer type, I'd call him. He was a neighbor of a listing that I sold and I've been talking to on and off. And he said to me this week, he's like, "Okay, I'm ready for my documents." He goes, "Is it going to be 6%?" And I said, "Yes, it's going to be 6%." But I didn't get too deep into it'll be on two forms and all of that at that moment. He just said, "I thought with that settlement, I thought something would change." And I said, "Well, honestly, the only thing I've seen change is that my agents who were only getting 2.4 when they helped buy are now doing consultations and showing they're actually worth what most people stereotypically think should be 3% from other markets, and hearing 3 and 3s and those types of things over the years, even though we've always been kind of 3.6 on the list and 2.4. I've seen my agents actually up their game and getting a lot of 3% on selling sides. If anything, it's given them a raise because we were a discount market for buyers agents. And they're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yep." So I just keep it just, I don't know, factual, informational, and they're real comfortable because I guess I've got confidence in this is just the way we're going to roll, and this is the way I roll, and they want to work with me. So move it on.
Right, exactly. And I'm thinking there's probably going to be some more questions about this that have come in through the chat. So I'll end it. My final question will be this for you guys. And thanks again for being a part of this. What are you going to do to maximize your 2025, and how are you going to make it your best year yet? Would love to hear from each of you.
Okay, well, I think one of the things is continuing to not only prospect clients, because lead generation is, one of the most important things for your business. It's the what leads your business. Without leads, you're not going to be able to work. So I think staying on top of lead generation, setting time throughout the day to work on that, like time blocking in, even if it's just a couple hours in the morning every day or a couple days throughout the week. What am I going to do to set myself up for success when it comes to gaining new leads, even if you're in a flex program, because like you mentioned earlier, everyone wants more SOI leads. And that's the one way that you're going to be able to do it, is putting yourself out there, whether it be social media, whether it be door knocking, some sort of prospecting. I think that's going to be huge for setting yourself up for success for the rest of the year. at the beginning or start of a new year, so staying on top of that and then continuing to work hard and continuing to stay busy, I mean, like you said earlier, like be the hardest worker in the room. Don't let anyone outwork you. Do what you say you're going to do. Stay consistent with your clients. Continue to generate leads. And I think that, you're going to be just fine in 2025.
Right on. Someone else?
This is gonna be a terrible answer. I'm not gonna really do much differently than I've done in the past year. I would say I'd like to get better at social media. I've never really done any of my own marketing. I just haven't had to because Zillow has just kind of fed me for the past 5 years. But it would be nice to step outside of that box and get a little bit better at the marketing side. I mean, because you never know what will happen in the future with real estate. So it would be nice to be able to do kind of drive my own path a little bit more. But I think as long as I stay consistent and do things the way I've been doing it the past few years, I should be just fine.
Yep. You know what? Stay consistent. It's worked for you. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think what's coming around the corner, I think we're gonna have an awesome spring. I really do. Let's see, who haven't we heard from? Sherry, how are you gonna make 2025 the best yet?
I'm gonna echo like what Ryan's doing. I found a recipe that's been working really well for me, and it's that rinse and repeat. Stay relevant. But now I actually have past clients, and know, leveraging them and their friends and family, and making sure that if they ever hear anyone in their family thinking about real estate, they're going to think about me. So you want to be able to stay relevant with your past clients, and answering my phone and continue to meet new people every day. Be competitive, think big, collaborate. I mean, it's you know just like I said, just be competitive, work hard, and do the right thing every time. If you do that, it will pay forward. And the whole big thing is where this is continue to have people to buy you. They buy you, you buy them. But that's what
Yeah. Sharon, 26 years. What's the key to longevity?
I think really loving it. I do think we've had that meeting at the office one time where we're like, you may be a lifer or you may be seasonally in this for a few years and go off and do something else. But for me, I've just always loved the outcome. I've loved matching people to the right properties and hearing their stories and feeding into, what I think is best for them, and them, seeing it and feeling it. But I did want to go back to what you were saying, like how to make your year the best. I always, even as long as I've done this, and I think I have been at times the absolute top of my game, and then I backed off some as my kids needed some attention for a few years and expanded my team. But some coaching all the time is great. It gives you new ideas, or getting in rooms with other people like this with other ideas. Something always rubs off. But a really good one had done a class with us just about, and it's so obvious, but it's just not my style. But you need to do this, is just mastering your calendar. Like, go ahead and put the time in you're going to do for lead gen if that's your thing, and go ahead and put the time in if you have kids to do their homework and their dinner, and go ahead and put your vacation down to plan for it. But if you would master your calendar as much, stick to it, because I find a lot of our agents, because they get the Zillow feed, think they just wait for the phone to ring. And I think they'll transform their business and their net if they actually master their calendar and not just go off and walk the dogs and do the laundry and get distracted. Because as agents, I think most of them do that during the day. When I call an agent, like I got a lead, and they're just, I'm just, getting my Starbucks, getting ready to shop at the mall. And I'm like, what are you doing? This is daytime. This is when people are working. We need to work. So
Be a
I
pro.
think that's a big deal.
Yes. Love that. All right, Maddie, you gonna land this plane? You got some good questions for us?
Yeah, for sure. And I think you guys all just said some good things there that come from some questions that were submitted either during this conversation or before the event. But once the first question that came in, I feel like we can just go ahead and jump into this. I mean, I feel like any of you would probably be valuable in responding to this, but deals fall out, right? That's something that's very prevalent, and real estate's not always pretty. How do you bounce back from that, the fallout deals or people backing out? How do you better educate your clients? How do you manage your emotions and your clients through situations like that? I'm not sure who would be best fit to answer that. I feel like that's probably a collaborative answer.
Yeah, good question though. Who wants to tackle that?
I got it.
Okay.
I think, well, I mean, I think that there's like two sides to it. And one of them being, I think 99% of the time, there's going to be a solution for the problem. You just have to apply yourself to that situation and be a problem solver, figure it out. Do you do what you're supposed to do and work through the issue to come to a resolve. I think that that's a huge part of it. It's just, not not sitting there and lying down on your back and just take it, figure it out, push back a little bit. What do we need to do in order to get through this? Have a little bit of tenacity. And I think that that would carry you through a lot of it. But some of those that, just are going to fall through regardless of what you do. I think the biggest thing just comes to your mindset. You can't, don't let yourself get upset about it is the biggest thing. Take it as a learning experience. What can I learn from this? I think what we used to call it in the Marine Corps is having the internal student mindset. There's always going to be something to learn. How can I use this to propel myself forward further instead of letting it hold me down?
Amen. Love that.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, love that too. Anybody want to add anything to that? I think part of that goes towards managing the client expectation, but also dealing with, what's going to happen inevitably anyway, right?
Yeah. Well, you just got to be proactive too.
Yeah, I think one common theme I heard everybody talking about was educating their clients to the decisions that they're making, right? And so you're going to avoid a lot of that potential fallout by doing those things and checking those boxes up front because they're going to know what they're getting into. And then, there's the other percentage that you're not going to control. You're not going to be able to control. So, cool. Well, a lot of this, I think Sherry said it in one of her responses to you, Shane, was I just work my tail off, right? What do you guys do for burnout and avoiding that, right? Because that's real and you can't be working 24/7, even though you can. But how do you guys avoid that burnout? Especially Ryan, what you said 39th deal closing this week? That's insane.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just, I mean, you got to have a work-life balance in any way you can. I think one thing that I've really tried to do the past couple of years, when I first started, I think I was feeling a little bit of a sense of burnout because I hadn't set any boundaries. So just, I mean, if I'm awake at 10:30 at night and somebody texts me, sometimes I will answer, but I'll try my best not to. If I go on vacation with my family, I try to focus on that. But I put measures into place like to make sure that I'm covered in all bases if I'm going to take a day off or something like that. But you still have to live your life. So I think one of the big things is setting those boundaries with clients. And I think once people get to know you and understand that you're really trying for them and doing everything, they don't expect you to answer the phone at 11 o'clock at night. Some people always will. That's just how it is. But I think to avoid the burnout, if you set the right boundaries in place, I mean, it doesn't feel like I've done any more deals than I've done in the past this year. But I think it's just being proactive about every single deal and then just setting those boundaries.
No, I think that's completely fair. Setting boundaries, that B word right there was the one I was seeing if anybody was going to land with, right? You want to work your tail off. You want your clients to feel like they're the most important person to you because you want to continue to build that relationship and earn their trust. I'm curious, Sharon, in all of your years of success, like have you built out any systems or processes that you really lean into to create a streamlined kind of business efficiency to kind of allow you to compound on your success?
I just know, as you grow, I didn't go into it with a thought process of growing a business. I was just loved real estate, loved helping the people, and it grew and grew and grew. And I do think as you get enough business, hiring that first assistant and then recognizing that assistant's wheels are about to come off and they're going to have to be split into a list and a buy. And then we've put a lot of staging and vendor management in on the listing side. And I think it's just kind of growing that team around you. I've grown vendors. Just saw a text from my painter I've worked with for 21 years. You just kind of, build a relationship and protect that relationship at all costs, even when you have a crazy client. That they're the good people you've got to work with over and over again in your office or as extensions of you in the field. And that's just kind of how I've worked through it, is continuing to try to take things off of me that don't need me to do it. And I think trying to get the client to see that sometimes it's okay that you're the pilot and you have some stewardesses. You don't want the guy driving the plane always handing out the cokes because the plane might go down, right? So you do want them to understand like what you're doing and how valuable those pieces are. And like you were saying, also, I think it was Ryan, just setting some times or some expectations with them. Like if they're expecting you to call them that day, like, okay, I already knew I had 3 appointments this morning, you guys being one of them. Hey, I'll be in touch. It'll probably be between 1:30 and 2. And then they're not texting and blowing me up and freaking out and, those types of things.
Yeah,
So.
for sure. Getting ahead of it.
Hey, Maddie, I was going to ask, there's the failure rate in this industry is so high. Like it's really hard to make it. The folks on this panel have proven that they have what it takes to make it. I'm curious because you guys have peers and colleagues and you observe and, other agents are all around you. What do you guys think are some of the biggest mistakes that agents make that ultimately land them out of the business? So we know what you do, what not to do, I guess is the question.
Get complacent. I think if you're not, like Sharon said, if you're not in a coaching session or learning ways to get better or improve or take yourself to the next level, it's going to be tough, especially as rules change, market changes. I mean, this is a crazy market right now. It's super slow. I mean, it can change at the drop of a hat, and it's going to leave people behind that aren't ready for it. So I think you don't want to be complacent, and I could certainly see yourself out. But even with folks that are in the Zillow model, I see a lot of times they just give up on individuals too easily. Not agents necessarily, but clients. And it's like, well, what does your book of business look like? And it's like, well, this person goes to me, so I didn't call them back. And I'm like, well, I mean, I set those people up on an MLS search, and so I hang with them. So I think that's another way too. If you're on a lead generation team, um, not giving up on clients and stuff like that will keep you into it and keep your pipeline going, which will sustain you for as long as you can go.
They think agents need to do is embrace your failures. I mean, that's probably one thing that stuck with me when I first started. I mean, I was like, well, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't, why do these clients, not want to buy, or is it something I'm not doing? But, embracing your failures and learn, what can you learn from each one of these that what could I have done better? But I had someone, in our office say that to me. That sticks to me. Learn from your failures what you can do better the next time. And not giving up. And Ryan also said, big thing. Just because they're not ready to buy right now doesn't mean they're not going to buy, in 2026. I just had a client tell me that today. She's like, I thought we were really, gung ho, and now they want to wait till 2026. I'm like, okay, I'm still here for you. I'm still going to reach out to you. Things may change now.
Those are my favorite clients. Sometimes I answer the phone and I'm like, please don't want to buy a house right now. I need somebody for March of next year or something like that. And I'm way too busy right now.
Yeah, true. Maddie, so we're up against it. Does anybody want to have the final word here?
Yeah, no, I definitely want to say thanks to all you guys for your time, your different paths, a lot of success between all of you. So thank you for that. Thanks for everybody that came on and attended. I am going to somehow share something on my screen. So if you guys want to attend, we're going to be hosting more of these, both in person and virtual. We've also got some CE and GenUp opportunities coming, so you can scan that QR code and sign up. But yeah, just thanks to you guys. Thanks to you, Shane, for managing the conversation. And hopefully everybody got something from this. Like Sharon said, it's always really good to collaborate with the people around you. So.
Definitely. Yeah. And thanks again, guys. Really, really appreciate it. Happy holidays to everyone.
Yeah, and I'll be sending out a recording of this, so if you guys want to come back and watch it, you'll be able to do that. But I hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.